We're often told that happiness is all about being surrounded by people. But what if that's only half the story? What if one of the keys to a richer life isn't about avoiding being alone, but actually learning how to embrace it? Today, we're going to reframe alone time, not as something to be afraid of, but as this incredible opportunity for growth and, yeah, even joy. So let's just start with a quick thought experiment. And no, really, give it a shot. Close your eyes. Imagine you're out in the wilderness, completely by yourself. What's the very first feeling that pops up? Is it a sense of peace, total freedom, or is it that little knot of anxiety in your stomach? That gut reaction you just had tells you a whole lot about your relationship with being alone. If you felt even a little bit of fear, you are definitely not alone in that. See, our culture has this way of setting a trap, making us believe that being alone is the exact same thing as being lonely. We see images of happy groups everywhere, so we just assume that solitude must be sad, right? Well, it's time to break that connection for good. This is the exact question that writer Jessica Sanchez's cousin asked her right before a solo trip. And it's a question that is just packed with society's anxiety about being alone. It automatically assumes that if you're physically by yourself, you must be emotionally distressed. It's the perfect example of how we mix up two very, very different ideas. Okay, so let's get this crystal clear. Being alone or aloneness is just a fact. It's a neutral state, like saying, I am in a room by myself. But loneliness, that's a feeling. It's a painful, subjective sense of being disconnected. And here's the most important part. They are not automatically linked. You can feel incredibly lonely in a crowded room, but you can feel perfectly happy and content when you are completely by yourself. That is the difference we're aiming for. And that brings us to our real goal here, solitude. Solitude isn't something that just happens to you. It's an intentional choice you make. It's when you consciously decide to spend time with yourself, to recharge your batteries, to think things through, to create something, or just to enjoy your own company. It's how we turn aloneness from a simple fact into something truly positive. Now, this shift from fearing being alone to finding joy in solitude isn't just some mindset hack. It's actually backed by science. When we intentionally step away from all the noise of the world, something pretty fascinating happens inside our brains and our bodies. So let's take a look at what the research actually shows us. A really cool study in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin discovered that solitude has what they call a deactivation effect. Now, I know that sounds a little technical, but the idea behind it is incredibly simple and honestly super powerful. It's all about turning down the volume on our emotional intensity. And here's where it gets really interesting. This deactivation effect doesn't just dial down the negative stuff, like anxiety or anger. It also calms down high-energy, positive feelings, like being way too hyped up or overexcited. It kind of brings everything back to a calm center. And what fills that space? Low arousal, positive feelings. Think calmness, relaxation, a sense of peace. Solitude is basically your brain's natural reset button, bringing you back to a state of balance. Okay, so we get the theory, we've seen the science, but how do we actually put this into practice? How do we do solitude? Well, the next step is to start building your own personal solitude toolkit, filling it with activities that are going to help you find that joy in your own company. Finding your perfect solo activity is all about figuring out what really gets you absorbed. For some people, it's all about creative pursuits. Hobbies like writing in a journal, painting, or learning an instrument, they get you into that state of flow, where the rest of the world just kind of melts away. It's an active, really fulfilling way to be with yourself. For other people, the answer is just getting outside. Stepping into nature to go for a hike, do some gardening, or even just sit by a lake can be so restorative. In fact, there's research that shows that spending just 2 hours a week in nature can significantly boost your health and well-being. It's like the simplest prescription for a calmer mind. And of course, solitude is the perfect space to develop your mind and build new skills. You can get totally lost in a good book, start learning a new language, or try to master a new recipe. These kinds of activities build your focus and give you this amazing sense of accomplishment that is 100% your own. The whole goal is just to find what fills your cup. All right, and here's a simple but honestly transformative idea. Take yourself out on a date, seriously. Go to a movie alone, wander through a museum, or just sit in a coffee shop with a good book. It might feel a little weird at first, I get it, but it is such a powerful way to prove to yourself that you don't need anyone else to enjoy the world. You are enough. Because ultimately, all of these activities, the hobbies, the dates with yourself, They're really just tools. They're the gateway to the true reward of solitude. And that reward isn't about what you do when you're alone. It's about who you become. It's about finally turning inward and getting comfortable in your own inner world. This quote just says it all. This is from that same writer, Jessica Sanchez, reflecting on her time alone in the wild. She had this huge realization. She wasn't just by herself anymore. She was with herself. You see that shift? It's moving from just tolerating your own presence to actually enjoying it. That's the whole game. Now, getting to know yourself can feel a little abstract, right? So here is a super concrete tool you can use. This simple little framework is perfect for journaling. First, just describe something that happened. Then analyze it. How did I feel? And why? And finally, the outcome. What did I learn from this? It's a structured way to turn your experiences into actual wisdom. Think about it this way. When we're constantly surrounded by other people, it's really hard to hear our own voice over all the noise. Solitude clears that away. It gives you the quiet space you need to explore who you really are without outside influence, to map out your own values, your dreams, and your fears. It's like going on an adventure, but inside yourself. And this is not a new idea. Way back in the 1840s, Henry David Thoreau went to live by Walden Pond for this exact reason. He said he wanted to live deliberately, to strip away everything that wasn't essential and figure out what truly mattered. For him, solitude wasn't an escape from life. It was his tool to engage with life on a much deeper, more meaningful level. And so, that brings us right back to you. We've untangled that fear of being alone. We've looked at the science of how it brings us calm. And we've started building a toolkit of things to do. But the real journey? That starts now. It begins the next time you find yourself with a quiet moment, and instead of instinctively reaching for your phone, you choose to reach inward instead. So the question is, what will you discover when you're finally with yourself?